Hello everyone. Happy evening to one and all present here. I am Sandhya on behalf of MTT. Would like to start today's session with a small quote. There is no greater disability in society than ability to see a person has moved by Robert M. Hansel. Now I would like to introduce my trusted tutor. MTT is a marketplace for a private tutors, school teachers, corporate trainers, academicians, educators, and all kind of education professionals. Our mission is to make quality education easily and affordably available to all. I take a great privilege to introduce our speaker of the day, Ayonna Hedge, on the topic Understanding Learning Disabilities in Classroom. Our speaker, Ayonna Hedge, is a clinical psychologist and a learning disability specialist. She is the owner and founder of Reach Out Counseling Center in Mumbai. Reach Out is a therapy center which works with all children who finds it difficult to study in the normal school system due to various issues. She is working as a school counselor for more than 10 years. During her career, she has worked with hundreds of children and has been responsible for mental and educational needs. She is also a passionate champion and advocate of children with learning disabilities. It is her mission to spread awareness on issues regarding children and learning disabilities. Now we came to an end of introduction. Before going to the session, I would like to remind all the participants that a feedback form will be provided at the end of the session in the chat box. Please fill it for your attendance and certificate. Now I hand over the session to Ayona ma'am. Over to you, ma'am.
Um, Thank you, Sandhya, so much for this very nice introduction.
Thank you, ma'am.
And a very warm welcome to all the participants who have taken their time out on a Saturday evening to join us for this wonderful program today. Um, I will be sharing my screen shortly, but just a few instructions before I start. If anybody has any questions, you can put it down in the chat box. We will take the questions at the end of the session because otherwise it would disturb to go back and see the question back and forth. Um, I will be starting the session right away now. And please do write down your questions. If it is not possible to answer them during this, during the course of this program, I will take down the questions and I will answer you separately. I will share my email ID at the end if you still need help. Please do respond when I ask some things because it's very difficult on an online class to even see anybody. Okay, fine. So yeah, the topic for today is understanding learning disabilities in the classroom. And I have chosen this topic because many of us are teachers on the group, and it really helps to know what are the issues that children face when they are learning in a classroom setting. So this is one of my favorite quote, which says that if a child cannot learn in the way we teach them, we must try to teach them in a way that they can learn. We need to understand that learning is a process which goes hand in hand with a wonderful teacher and a student who is involved. So the more the happy the child is when the child is studying, the more the chances of the child remembering what he has learned. So it's very important that the child and the teacher share a wonderful relationship for the learning of the child. So when we talk about learning disabilities in the classroom, it is generally the students that we have, which a teacher would say, ma'am, this child is very lazy. This child is very stupid. How many times I tell the child does not understand. The child is making the maximum noise. And we are not able to understand why the child is behaving in this way. Sometimes we may see that the child is very careless, the child seems uninterested in studies, and the child is lost. And definitely we would say, this is a good for nothing fellow. Now, those are the labels that we see for our children with learning disabilities. Just to understand a little about the background of learning disabilities, the term was coined in 1963 by Dr. Samuel Kirk at a lecture at an educational conference where he said that there are certain children who are unable to learn in the school system, and he put the term as learning disability. Now, learning disabilities can be mild, moderate, or severe. I will explain to you how it looks like. Mild learning disabilities may sometimes never get diagnosed because the child would not have that much of a disability, and it is not possible to understand in the school. Approximately 5 to 15% of school children are learning disabled. Many of them have normal or above normal intelligence. The vision and hearing of the child is normal. And one thing has been noticed, that it is more prevalent in boys than in girls. So, India, as I said, is a very unique country with a multicultural setting, and most of our children speak at least 2 to 3 or even 4 languages right from the start. So, you have a language at home, you have a language in the school, and then we have additional 2 languages. So, 3 languages we learn in the school, and another 4 or 5 languages around the house. So, a child is exposed to a multicultural setting. uh, in spite of that, in India, the other thing that we see is that there is not much study regarding learning disabilities. So I just managed to get a few studies which I found online on learning disabilities, where Sahu did a study, and he said that 5 to 17% of the population suffers from learning disabilities. A study conducted by the Sion Hospital, out of 2,225 students who were referred to their center for testing, 640 students were showed as having specific learning disabilities. In Kerala, a panchayat study for screening LDs for children in classes 1 to 8 revealed that 16% of the school children have learning disabilities. Another study conducted in Kerala revealed that nearly 10% of the children had developmental language disorders, and around 8 to 10% of the school population had learning disability in one form or the other. As we talk through this session, and as I take you through this session, you will realize that why is it so difficult to understand what is a learning disability. The very nature of learning disability in itself makes it very difficult to diagnose a child having a learning disability. So let us understand, what do we mean by learning disabilities. Now, learning disabilities are a neurological disorder. A child with learning disability may be as smart as other child, or maybe smarter than the other children, but they may have difficulty reading, writing, spelling, understanding, or recalling and organizing information. And if the child is left to figure their own way to study, like how we tell children, you study on your own, this child will not be able to study in the normal school system. And that is the reason why learning disabilities are such a difficult thing to understand. We were discussing that these children are much smarter than the children who are there along with them, but they come across as being, unable to study, unable to read, unable to participate in the class. And we would probably think that why is it that this child is not able to do something? He is so smart. There is so much more he can do, but is not able to study. Okay. Now, when we talk about the definition for a learning disability, the first thing we see that it is a neurological disorder, and that makes all the difference. It's a disorder in the brain. So it's a disorder which affects the brain's ability to receive information, process information, store information, and respond immediately. So in a school, when we want children to give answers like this as fast as we can, this child will be somebody who's not able to give the answer so fast. Okay. And that creates a different kind of a problem. Oh dear. Okay. That creates a different kind of a problem. As we see, a dyslexic reader's brain is lit only on one side, whereas a good reader uses most parts of his brain to read. Fine. Now, what I want, the reason I put this picture is because learning disabilities is an umbrella term, and an umbrella term means there are a lot of things involved when we talk about a disability. So the child may have a disability in oral language, that is in listening and speaking, may have a disability in reading, that is in decoding words, that is in breaking up words and in joining them back together, may have an issue in understanding phonics, will find it difficult to keep listening to words and understanding how to join them. They find it difficult to recognize a word again and again. They also find it difficult to understand the language. And the written language, you will find the child is having issues with writing spellings. Also, if you ask the child to write a comprehension or write about any particular topic, the child is not able to put up, means if you ask, I need minimal 10 sentences, the child will be able to write only 3 sentences. And also those 3 sentences will have not much matter. And then we would say that you do not know how to write. Why have you not written anything? Okay. So that is one of the problems. Along with that, you will find that the child has problems in maths, the child has problem in organizing himself, organizing his school work. Also social skills would be a problem. So basically, as we see, there is an issue in language, phonological understanding, visual spatial, perception, processing speed of the brain, memory, and other executive functions. So what do we call these things? What do we call these issues? So if you say dyslexia, we are looking at difficulty in reading. If you say dysgraphia, we are looking at difficulty in writing. If you say dyscalculia, we are looking at difficulty in mathematics. And if I say dyspraxia, we are looking at difficulty in body coordination and other movements. Now, what does this look like? Okay, what it is not. Like if you say that, ma'am, how will we understand that the child has a learning disability? So if you have to understand whether the child has a learning disability, there are some things we need to understand. It is that our child should have average or above average intelligence. So if the IQ is below normal IQ, that is below 90 or below 85, it's a mildly intellectually disabled child. So that kind of a child we cannot say has a learning disability. For a learning disability, the child should have an average or above average IQ. If the child has missed school due to some illness or parental transfers, like some children attend multiple schools in their career. So what happens is the child is, the child has missed school, and so the child has not picked up the knowledge that was taught in the classroom. Again, if there are other disorders, like there's a mood disorder, there's anxiety, there are some emotional problems at home, and the child has not been able to focus in the classroom, also that couldn't be a learning disability. If there have been no facilities for the child to attend school, or if the child is a first generation learner where there is nobody at home to support his learning, that couldn't be termed as a learning disability. Along with that, all these things will, cannot be termed as a learning disability. So now what has happened is, since the word learning disability is becoming little popular here and there, people kind of plug every child who's having an issue with learning as learning disabled. No, that is not the case. There are many other reasons why a child cannot learn in the school. And if you are saying learning disability, then there have to be certain points which have to be noted if we want to say that the child has a learning disability. Let's look further. Now, you would ask me, ma'am, why is it happening? What are the causes? So, the causes as of now are not very clear. But some of the reasons could be, alcohol or smoking by the expectant mother, could be a birth trauma, could be a seizure, a seizure disorder which the child has, could be ear infections, which have been, terrible over the years. So, the child has not been able to participate in the class, could be infections such as encephalitis or meningitis, which cause very high fever to be, for the brain to get very high fever, and there are chances of the child having disabilities. Again, it could be the inhalation or ingestion means to eat anything which has been toxic to the child, or could be issues on nutrition like severe malnutrition to the mother during pregnancy, or even to the child after birth. Now, when we talk about dyslexia as a reading, basically it's a reading disorder, and dyslexia will be the child would not remember new words that you have taught him. Again, the child would be, substituting between one age and actually remember where he is reading. So there's a lot of effort put in by the child. Also, the tone would not be proper. There would be a change. Suddenly he will read loudly, suddenly slowly, and he is not having fun with it. He's actually struggling to read. Again, you will see that uh, after you teach a child in first grade and second grade, by third grade the child tries to read words which are unfamiliar by using certain word analysis skills, but a dyslexic child would not be able to do that. He will find it difficult to read every word. Again, in younger children, you will see that they are not able to repeat nursery rhymes. They find it difficult, or they forget, they say half the rhyme, they forget half the rhyme. You will also find that this child is weak in comprehension, and similar looking words like bread or beard, house, home, they will interchange the word. Sometimes they will just see the starting of the word and read it. However, whatever word comes to their mind, that may not be the word in the text. You will also find that the child has difficulty remembering sight words. Sight words are the words which we do not spell phonetically, like has, was, is. The child would find it difficult to remember them. So, in one page where these words are there, he will make a mistake, or he will keep asking you, what is this word? What is this word? So, you should understand that there is something wrong in the reading of the child. Again, the child would have a problem in connecting sounds and letters. So this is, just a part of what a dyslexic person would look like to you. There is a whole lot of lists available. In fact, the internet has very good lists which you can download and use it for your own thing. You can use it for your own, as your checklist. The other thing that is available, the other problem that we find is called as dysgraphia. Okay. Now, dysgraphia is a writing disorder. So, it's a disorder where we are seeing that the child is not able to write. Now, not able to write would be that there are some children whose handwriting is really illegible. So, what you will see, I have given a small photograph here. If you see, that the handwriting is uneven. So one letter is big and the second letter is very small. The child will find it difficult to write on the line. And we keep insisting for the children that write on the line, write neatly. I have seen teachers tearing books saying, what is this handwriting? It is so bad. You have to try to do better. But if it is dysgraphia, the child would have a difficult time. He will not be able to, give you a better writing as soon as possible. He would need more intervention to be able to write better. Again, you will find that the child, copies letters wrong, writes numbers wrong, finds it difficult to remember the shape of the letter, is not able to write without so many cancellations on the book, and one second. Sometimes the child keeps scribbling so many times that you will see at least 10 erasers in one page, and sometimes the erasing will be so much that the page has already torn. Okay. So the child is actually trying to write, but he's not able to write in a way that the teacher wants him to write. The child may also show issues in copying and writing from the board. Also, writing, copywriting, which we give for homework, the child will find it difficult to do that. And many times you will find the child just avoids writing or copying. You will also find that the child has very poor spelling. This is dysgraphia for you. When we talk about dyscalculia, we are talking about a maths disorder. Now, when we say maths, many of us also have issues with maths, but a dyscalculic child having issues with maths is more worse than us having issues with maths. So what you see is there will be a trouble for telling the time, not only telling the time as in reading the clock, but this child will also have problems with yesterday, today, tomorrow. Like tomorrow I went to the market. Where will he wants to tell you that yesterday he went to the market. So the child is not able to use the words in a way that we can understand language. Again, you will find that the child has difficulty understanding the language that involves math. Like if you say greater than, lesser than, you will say add, subtract. He finds it very difficult to understand the concepts. You will find that these children make simple errors like the tens place they will put in the ones place, the ones place they will put the word, the letter, the number in the hundreds place. And we actually tell them that they are very careless. And we keep telling the child, okay, you check again. See, you're so careless. You're not paying attention. Actually, there is a problem with the way the child is observing the math sum. He is not able to understand where he should put where he should put the digits. Okay. Another thing we see is when it comes to calculation, it's very difficult for this child to calculate sums. Or even when you say memorizing addition facts. Now, when we teach children, soon after some time, children realize that 5 plus 4 is 9, 3 plus 2 is 5. Or, these kind of sums the children realize on their own. They don't have to keep adding it every time. But our children, if you give them 5 plus 5, they will keep counting their fingers continuously. And again, they will keep saying 5 in the mind, 5 on my hand. And they are going to take such a long time to do simple mathematical calculation. You will also find that the child has difficulty performing any kind of counting activities like skip counting, count by 5, count by 10, count by 100, counting numbers, reading spellings, remembering spellings of the number names. That is another one great challenge that our children have. The child also has difficulty in recognizing how many things are there unless he counts it physically. And even when he counts it, he will make an error in counting. Okay. The child also has a difficulty in counting simple numbers, corresponding between numbers and symbols. So all those fundamental things,
Can
we see that there are so many things that a child has issues, and all this we can see in the primary classroom itself. We do not even have to wait till the child goes to the secondary classroom. Okay. One more part of this is called as dyspraxia. Okay. Now, dyspraxia is a much lesser known problem, which is basically a problem with body coordination and movement. So you will also find our children very disorganized, poor planning. The child will keep losing worksheets, will forget where he kept his things. Mothers complain that he takes a pencil box to school and does not come back with the erasers. The pencils are missing. He has lost his notebooks. These children find maps difficult. They find it hard to judge, distance, speed, time, all the things that we kind of think that we know on our own. Nobody really taught us is something which is a challenge for our children. Our children also have poor sense of direction. They are forever confused between right, left, top, bottom, near, far. All the prepositions that we say, these are some things which are very confusing with the child with dyspraxia. And of course, this I have put this up because this is something which is common among all our children. Most of them are forgetting daily routines and activities. They are easily distracted by any small sound or anything moving around. They are distracted. If you all have seen the Tare Zameen Par movie, you will realize what I'm talking about. You just look out of the window and then you forget what you were looking at on the board. The child is constantly getting lost. Teacher is saying, okay, read page 2. The child is still on page 1. And by the time he goes to page 2, the classmates have gone to page 4. So he's finding it very difficult to keep up with the class. You will find that this child will not want to do his homework, will not give the projects on time, will find it very difficult to do his assignments. So all things that we normally use in a school setup to evaluate a child is something where this child would fail in. Okay. He'll find it difficult organizing tasks and activities, finds it difficult to follow instructions, the schoolwork is incomplete. Any work, if you ask his parents, any work the child is given, he finds it is incomplete. Again, if you're talking to the child, many a times the child behaves like as though he has never heard you only. That is something which, most people get irritated with, like, hello, you, I'm talking to you. How many times should I tell you? You're not listening to me. And you will realize that the child just looks at you and says, no, ma'am, I was listening. And you understand that he has actually not, it has not gone in. What you are trying to say has not been registered by the child at all. Okay. So now what happens? Yeah, so I have just put up, some of the long term implications. We talk about learning disabilities being a school issue, but I would like to tell you that it goes far beyond school. So what we see is, uh, it goes far beyond school. We see a lot of personal problems, we see a lot of family problems. Uh, we i have seen adults who have not been diagnosed with dyslexia in childhood and have been diagnosed later on in life. There are issues of loneliness, depression, suicide, delinquency. Most cases what happens is, if you were to imagine a child who cannot participate in the class for reasons because he is learning disabled, I'm sure he will have no friends because he is not able to participate in the class. Nobody would want to be his friend. He ends up getting friends with all the external elements with whom there is no really academic content. And his life goes on a totally different path. So he is not able to educate himself. Okay. So this is a problem which we need to see as early as possible. Now let us see. One second. Yeah. Are you all with me? Everybody is with me? Hello?
Yes, ma'am. We all
Yes,
are with
ma'am.
you.
Okay, I am loud and clear, right? I'm clear, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Paka.
Thank you so much, Satya.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So when we say a learning disabled child, it is not a job only of the class teacher, or it is not a job of the school. There is a whole group of professionals waiting there to help you out with the child. So what are the professionals that you can refer the child to? So if there are speech issues, you can refer to a speech therapist. A developmental pediatrician can evaluate the child. An occupational therapist can work with the child's attention and focus, writing issues. A remedial teacher can work with the special needs for the child to educate the child, to teach the child what the classroom teacher is teaching. A psychiatrist could help with the evaluation of the child. A neurologist, if there is some problem. A psychologist could also help with evaluations. An optometrist could help with the, check whether the vision is okay. And an audiologist would help whether the hearing is okay. So there's a host of people who get into the story once a child is diagnosed with a learning disability. Now, what is the testing procedure? Okay. Now, for the testing procedure, we find that you need to have a detailed history of the child. Just because somebody says the child is learning disabled, we do not take it on face value that the child is learning disabled. There are a lot of tests that can be done to find out what is the level of disability of the child. So the first thing would be definitely to take a school history of the child, a detailed family history of the child, a medical history of the child, observe the child's behavior, and definitely we give tests to find out what is the child's IQ, what is the child's reading level, what is the behavioral issues with the child. All this comes under the psychoeducational reports. We also send our children for hearing and eyesight testing, because many times we find out that children have issues with their ear. There will be earwax accumulated, and because of accumulated earwax also, many times the child is not able to hear properly. Also, there are eyesight issues. Nowadays many of our children are getting spectacles at a much earlier age, and If we do not keep testing every 6 months, there is every chance that the child could have an eye issue and is not able to see the board. And because he is not able to see the board, is not able to write or read for that matter. Again, one more thing that needs to be, very seriously maintained is the issue that we are seeing about learning with this particular child or any child has to be seen for more than 6 months. So it is not like today we listened to ma'am's lecture and then we said, okay, now this child has a problem. This child needs to go for testing. The child has to be observed for more than 6 months to see whether there is a real problem with this academic content. Because when it comes to children, children can behave differently because of different reasons. There could be some problem at home, or there could be some, some of their loved one must have passed away. There could be some fights in the family. All this will affect the child's learning. So it's not required that the child would have a learning disability and not learning. There could be a lot of other problems which are affecting the child's learning. Okay, so we have to observe the child for at least 6 months to a year, and only then we can say. So these are the issues that you would, it has to be there for more than 6 months. And the next thing is, when we send a child for testing, he should be above 8 years and above. But a child can be recognized having an issue much earlier. We will discuss about that if we have the time. Now I have just put up some, tips that we can put up for teachers. Since we do have a lot of teachers on the group, my trusted tutor group. So the first few things that you could do for this child, if there is a child like this in your classroom, is to provide a buddy. And what is the job of the buddy? The buddy gives you a, buddy gives you a feedback. Now, in India, we do not have that concept so much, but I have seen in some schools have now started the buddy system for other children who are not able to participate in the classroom. Now, what does the buddy do? A buddy will tell the child which page is being read. The buddy will remind the child that he has to do this assignment. The buddy will remind the child to bring his assignment to class, or help him to copy his material from the board, or read out the question for him and tell him to understand what is happening. So generally a buddy's job is to involve the child in the classroom setup. Another thing that a teacher could do to that child, specifically for that child, is to give him a frequent feedback. So a frequent feedback would be, now if you have given me an assignment, you will ask me, what have you done? Have you decided what you're going to do? Did you write down your questions? Are you planning to give it to me? How are you planning to write it down? Would you need help? Some kind of extra, a little bit of extra involvement for this child would go a long way in making him also feel involved in the classroom. Another thing that we can do for our children with learning disabilities is, you set a timer for a task. So if I have given you a job, it has to be finished in half an hour's time. So I tell the child that now I have set the alarm, you're going to start now, and after half an hour, you have to give me the material. In between, you have to remind the child, see, 10 minutes are over, like how we do for exams. We know it's a 1 hour exam. Half an hour, the bell will ring where you tell the children that half an hour is over, 45 minutes is over, and now 1 hour is over. So the child has to be reminded at different timings that now the time is set, this is the time, another 5 minutes left, another 4 minutes left, 3 minutes left. So the child knows that he has to do things faster and faster. Definitely, we should teach the child to plan and organize his materials. Now, some children do it on their own. Some children do not understand how to do it. So you need to tell the child that he has to keep each of his subject papers in each, ask for a separate file. If you do not ask for files for any of your children, for a learning disabled child, you would need a file along with the highlighter. You get those nice colorful strips of paper which you can stick to each file, and you write the name of the topic on the file. Now, these things can be done by the child itself. The teacher has to just make sure that the child puts his papers into those particular files. So, you're teaching the child to organize himself. Again, I always tell teachers that if the child has done the work by himself, please accept his work even if it is late. Also, accept it even if there are errors. Just understand that the child has tried his best to give you his work on time. The next thing that we can do for this particular child would be to focus on a single concept at a time. I know, in the classroom, it's a difficult thing, but if we have parents today on this group, or if we have, teachers who have enough time on their hand, you could give that child one particular concept and tell him that you have 10 minutes or 15 minutes, you have to finish only this much. So if you break up a big assignment into small parts, the participation of the child would be more. And understand that for learning disabilities, the child has to work 50% harder than every other child in your classroom because he is already at a disadvantage. Okay? The other thing that you can teach the child is to take down notes, how to take down small notes when the teacher is teaching in the class. And definitely, I always recommend to teachers that please repeat what you have said. Sometimes it happens that you are giving an instruction and the classroom is so distracted that many of the children are not able to hear what is being said, and our learning disabled child would have been lost in the classroom long ago. So maybe if you repeat an instruction the second time, he will hear it if he has not heard it the first time. Again, teach the child what are the steps required to finish a task. Now, this we can do for all children in the classroom. There have to be steps given on how we want the child to finish a particular task. Uh, the most interesting thing that we could do is we can teach the child to highlight his work. So you highlight the main points, like we do this for older classes. Children gets highlighters to school and they mark all the difficult words. Like when we were in school, teacher would say, okay, this is important, okay, please mark it. And then the teacher would say, this is very, very important, please mark this, it will come for the exam. So just you can walk around the classroom and see whether all the children have marked. And if you provide a buddy for the child, the buddy would make sure that his book and his friend's book is already marked adequately. So when the child is sitting to study, he just has to look at the highlighted parts and he definitely would do much better than what he is doing before. Okay. So these are some of the tips I have written for teachers. Yeah. Now, I thought I need to just tell you all what are the current provisions available for children with learning disabilities. So, what has happened is with the right to education come in and all children are getting passed till grade 8 standard, many children with learning disabilities are getting lost in the system. Earlier, what would happen is they would fail, they would fail at grade 3 or grade 4, and people would think, there is something wrong with this child, that is why he is failing. But as of now, we have a no fail policy for our children. We have inclusive education. So all children are in the school system. Children with learning disabilities need to be identified very early for testing, at least by grade 2. But since we have a no fail policy, most of our children are going through, school life. And at grade 8, we understand that the child is not able to, read, or maybe is not able to participate in a ninth grader's curriculum. And that is when we say, oh, the child has a problem. So definitely the problem has to be recognized much, much earlier. So we in Mumbai city, we do have government hospitals which have been, earmarked for testing for our children. We've got Sion Hospital, we have KEM Hospital, and we have Nair Hospital. Schools like CBSE and ICSE also take individual RCI certified psychologists and special educators test reports. uh, the government has arranged for the education board has arranged for extra time if the child has a learning disability certificate. The child we can also give the child a reader, A scribe is a writer. The child has a flexibility of changing subjects. There is an exemption from drawing graphs or map work, charts, diagrams. There's also an exemption of spelling errors. So the education department is trying to help children with learning disabilities. But unless our children are identified in at an early age, it would be difficult to give them all these facilities by the time the child goes to ninth and 10th grade. Okay. Yes, so that's about it. And I just wanted to say that every child deserves a champion, an adult who will never give up on them, who understands the power of connection and insist that they can become the best they can possibly be. Okay. And I feel that every teacher can do that for a child. You can have that connection with your child, and that would make a difference in the life of our child. Yeah. So thank you.